It's on you, Q. It's on you, Q.
Okay. All right, we're going to start momentarily, and there may be a few more people that drift in. Oh, but I think we're going to record it. So, yeah. And we may- Let me take a quick peek.
By the way, for those, oh, it does work. For those here, I'm out of the Ventura County office. I work in Camarillo. I am a volunteer. Like 98% of the Red Cross is volunteers. So we have very little overhead. And for those that are here right now, there is a major disaster in your own community. There's an apartment building that has displaced 100 individuals, families. I don't know exactly where it's at. I'm a shelter supervisor and go along with everything else I do, so.
Shall we start? Okay, we're going to go ahead and start. There may be a few people drifting in, but thank you all for being here. I know it was kind of a short break after the service, but I think we have some important information we want to share. My name is Yukio Okano. I'm the chair of our Health and Safety Ministry team, and this is part of a series of presentations that we're hoping to present to the congregation about different topics. And back in January, some of you might have been here, we talked about the church building and some issues related to the building. I just wanted to comment. I know earlier during the service we had a bit of a disruption, and I wanted to thank members of the health and safety team who helped intervene in the disruption. Some of you may not really know what the health and safety team does, but we cover a lot of health and safety issues for the church, including what are we going to do when things happen that are unexpected. And of course, today we're going to be talking about the unexpected. But I wanted to acknowledge our health and safety team members who are here. We have Todd McGinley, Ray Vargas, and Brian Buck over here. So today's presentation is about disaster preparedness. And we are fortunate to have a representative from the American Red Cross, Steve Medina. And Steve is the disaster preparedness coordinator, one of them, for the American Red Cross. And so he will be doing a PowerPoint presentation.
Oh, thank you, sir. Appreciate it. Thank you for everyone attending. As I mentioned earlier, there is a disaster in Ventura right now. There's 100 people displaced in an apartment. So I will keep this very short in respect to those individuals that have been displaced. As you mentioned in your today, we are community, and we are here to support the community. I do several jobs with the Red Cross. My primary responsibility after being in disasters in Florida for Hurricane Helene and the other gentleman who came through, Milton, also tornadoes and the fires, of course, recently in Pasadena. Since I am a shelter supervisor, I am responsible. Oh, forgot our own mountain fire here recently. We opened the shelter there, as I will go over and assist with opening the shelter today. So disasters can strike at any time. Here we are, and it can happen without warning. So this morning, I don't know what time, maybe it's on your news break or wherever, I just received the text that they need volunteers immediately. People are hurt, probably. I don't know. I have no idea. The fire department normally calls us in a response such as this. We have, after the fires in Altadena and Pacific Palisades, we received about 180 volunteers in the community of Fresno, Bakersfield, and Ventura County. So we are overwhelmed, at least from my perspective of training new individuals. My group was what we call blue sky presenters. So we go into organizations such as this type of community. We present how to prepare, and my other group presents to children how to prepare with kids. We also do hands-only CPR training, which we've had an abundance of those of recently for adults and older children. So I think you all agree we know what disasters happen here. We used to be able to eliminate, only have 4 of them here, but now all of a sudden we have tornadoes. We're surprised we're not having hurricanes yet, but you never know. So we have the extreme heat. We have abundantly been forced to deal with power outages. That will become a part of our presentation moving forward, and how we're going to handle it, how we work with Edison, etc. One of the key things after being in Florida, a lot of communities thought they were going to get help right away. And I have to tell you, after being in that shelter for 2 weeks, sleeping on a cot with the rest of the community people that we were serving in that particular shelter, it happened to be for disabled individuals, wheelchairs, oxygen. A lot of those people came out of the Appalachian Mountains. They hadn't probably seen anybody in, who knows, 5-6 years. And consequently, they needed oxygen. They had no power in their homes, so we were able to provide it with the local community, working in conjunction with them. Generally, when the Red Cross opens a shelter, it's on the request from a community, just as today's fire is a request from the community. A lot of times the governors will declare a normal disaster here locally, as they did in Camarillo, and then Florida, as an example, in Altadena was a national disaster. So what happens in a national disaster? Everybody in the country is coming in from all parts. Wisconsin, I worked with people in Wisconsin, Florida, New York. I had the responsibility for 10 volunteers maintaining 8 ballrooms. So we constantly worked with the city, making sure services were there, food, etc. So what am I here for? Why are you here for? Why are you even listening? We all know how to prepare. Quite frankly, I know how to prepare. My box is in the back. But have I checked the batteries on my devices recently? Has the acid leaked out? Do I have enough water? When you get a fire, wildfire, you have time to prepare. You have level 1, level 2, level 3. So you can collect things right away. The biggest problem is, I just heard it from the biggest challenge, I just heard from the community in Pacific Palisades, is a lot of the insurance company was not going to accept what you told them you lost in the fire. So my question to the audience, how many of you taken pictures or videos of your home? 1, 2. How about the rest of you? You imagine those people who have an apartment fire that may have a renter insurance. Do you think that insurance company is going to say, you lost a big screen TV at 2400? Well, where's the proof? Well, the proof burned out in the fire. So that's an example of being prepared. Having that flash drive in your pocket, first aid kit. So if you're waiting for someone to respond, generally they're not. You're waiting, might be waiting for a long time. How many were in the Northridge earthquake? Anybody live closer to Northridge? I'm from Simi Valley, so that was 6 miles. I remember camping out in the middle of my yard. No flashlights. Well, we were young. I was probably 32. Naive. You know, who's going to have a disaster? No batteries, no power. Food was gone. But we came together as a community because we were all out camping in our front yards. Somebody else had a barbecue. Somebody else had food we had to cook because the freezers were gone. I don't remember how long the power was out. But again, that's talking about being prepared. A first aid kit. One of the things we're going to hand out a flyer here soon is what you should keep in your first aid kit. Not your first aid kit, but in your to-go box. Now, in an earthquake, this comes in great, fantastic. Home fire, you would have a to-go bag, which I have back there. Or do I have it up here? No. I have a to-go bag where I pack in my particular important documents. Maybe I have food for a couple days. Maybe I have water bottles. Many years ago, I purchased a box of water, which was boxed water. Now, why would I buy boxed water versus plastic? Lasts longer, but what's the other key element? Well, the plastic leaches into the water. So after a while, the water doesn't taste that good. But how many gallons of water do you need per person per day? 1 gallon per person per day. Another valuable tool in your kit would be a roll of duct tape. Well, why would I want duct tape in my preparedness kit? Sir, you're shaking your head. Why would you need it?
A lot of good reasons. Duct tape fixes just about anything that leaks, for starters.
Someone in your household broke their arm. I'll tell you what, that duct tape works pretty darn good. Wrap it up. The thing is with earthquakes, we could have one right now. We don't know. Now, fire can be preventable. Someone maybe got careless in that homes, but it caused a displace of 100 people today. So we have to adapt. Recovery can be a problem. So this is what we do. Recommend a kit. We'll hand that out to you. I can throw my box in 2 minutes. Now, we were a part of a voluntary evacuation in Simi a couple years ago. It's interesting how our priorities change as we get older. My wife 20 years ago, 25 years ago, would have been packing up photos and pictures and whatever valuable. And this time she just looked at me as an empty nester and said, "Get in the car. Let's go." Now, what's important for us as we do prepare for disasters is at least have a game plan to where we are going. Now, in a wildfire, of course, you probably have friends that are 15, 20 miles away, and you can stay with them. I have friends that were displaced from the Altadena fire. I'll tell you their tragedy story. They lost their home completely. Their daughter of 11 years old lost every monument of her ballet and memorabilia. But first of all, they had to move in with their parents that were 85 years old. Well, I could imagine at that age it would be hard to, with parents that age, to manage that when you've been alone for how long, supporting each other, wife and father. So they went from 1 week there, they went to their sister's. And in the meantime, they were looking for a place to live. They finally ended up in a hotel, and they've been there for the last 6 weeks, 8 weeks maybe. So they were just happy to get out of our lives. My son was evacuated as well. He was farther down by the 210 freeway. They had smoke damage, but with 2 kids, they went to their in-laws. Again, having a plan of where you're going to evacuate. Be informed, mostly for earthquakes. And I'll stress something else while I'm talking about it. A lot of people don't know this. If we were to have an earthquake or a wildfire, for instance, take your phone and change your voice message. This would have been great in the earthquake of 1992. Change your voice message to reflect, "This is Todd. You reached my voice message mailbox. Everything is okay. Martha and I are fine. We went to your aunt down in Palo Verde or wherever, Palos Verdes. So you can call her there. You can call us there. Because you know phone service is going to be horrible. The other thing is your messaging is going to work. So have them, you can text. And up in the corner, there's an SOS. I don't know if you've ever seen that SOS. It saved quite a few people up in the mountains, stupidly hiking by themselves, which I haven't figured that out yet, so someone here can tell me why you would hike by yourself, but I'm not a hiker. So there's your go-to-go kit. 3 days, 2 weeks. It's a long time, so I have a box, but how much provisions you can take for 2 weeks? Pets, if you have pets, your medication. Where are you going to keep your medication? A lot of people say keep your plastics in the freezer, copies of your driver's license. I've got 2 things on my mind, so I apologize. Driver's license, maybe your birth certificates, etc., because those are valuable. When I was up at the Burrell fire in Kern County, up at Lake Isabella, destroyed 124 homes. There were people who lost their homes and other individuals that may have been homeless or for whatever reason tried to claim money that they were entitled to from the Red Cross and FEMA. Because they didn't have the person who tried to claim it, who didn't own the home, didn't have initial documentation. Of course, they weren't provided that money. But there may have been 1 or 2 that said, hey, I have documentation. Here is an electric bill. Here is my utility bill. So you can present that at your home as well. But we're talking about after the disaster, not before. So there's your to-go kit. Medicines, everything can be in Apple now, your phone. I have a copy of everything. CVS will replace it more than likely right away. I recently changed mine from Costco over to CVS because of the way I travel. I could be in Florida and run out of my glaucoma eye drop. So consequently, I have it in one place where I can get it. But if you called your doctor, I'm sure you can get a prescription for it. So make sure you have a copy of your prescriptions. Take a picture of it. The essentials, I have a wind-up radio, cranks, and can get local news. Water, of course. First aid kit. I have a first aid kit there. It's very minimal. Bandages, etc. Pets and animals. You know, in the mountain fire, I cannot tell you when I opened the shelter how many people tried to get back into their homes to help their husband or loved one pull out horses or dogs. So I carry one in my vehicle, very minimal, but I do carry one. I have flares, supplies. We're lucky here we live in paradise. That's why we pay our high taxes, I assume, high gas. So our seasons are pretty short. If I asked each one of you to put your phone down, like me, would you remember who to call? Maybe your spouse? But how about your sister in New York? Or maybe she's in Minnesota, or your brother? No. So we have contact lists where you should actually write paper contacts and keep them in another folder. Because I can tell you in that fire in Altadena, there was quite a few people who left their cell phones to save their lives. So you should keep a contact list printed out, and maybe it's just 5 people. Your Fab 5, but at least they know you're safe. You can call them. So that's a suggestion that we always make. Kids are the same way. Oh, kids couldn't tell you a phone number. Practice your plan. When we do drills for the children, we always have a place to meet. Now, we install a lot of smoke alarms. That's part of our mission in Ventura County. In Oxnard alone, last year we installed over 3,000 smoke alarms. I don't know if it has anything to do with it, but we have a disaster action team, which is responding right now to the apartment fire. But our calls in Ventura County were like here, and all of a sudden they're down here. Now, Oxnard predominantly is known for a lot of fires. People living in the garages, etc. Maybe barbecue. I've been out to a few fires myself, and it's devastating in the middle of 2 o'clock in the morning. But our volunteers, you'll find that's what they do. They don't even ask why they're coming out at 2 o'clock. So here's a communication sheet. We can hand that out to you if you don't mind, or you can pick one up. Your radios, one thing we do recommend, there's apps on the Red Cross on the phone. We have several apps. Disaster Preparedness, it's a free app. You just download it. So they call it the emergency app. You can actually put your location in, and it will keep you updated on emergencies. There's a new one out. I don't know if you used it for the recent fire at Castaic. My wife used it more than I did. It was the alert. Do you know which one I'm talking about?
Yeah, watch duty.
Watch duty. And if you get the professional level, you can watch the helicopters going back and forth. It's quite fascinating. My wife was mesmerized by it. The other app, when we do CPR training, we do hands-only CPR training. In fact, we're doing the Boys and Girls Club here for the last 6 weeks. And what we do is we instruct them how to do hands-only CPR. Now, I'm CPR certified. Do you know what the difference is? Certification. How to use the AED. We don't teach that in classes for hands-only. But a certified CPR person will breathe into the mouth. Now, hands-only, they don't recommend it. And a lot of times you'll hear discussions on whether it's really necessary. But 4 minutes is generally the time you need to do the compressions. 110 per minute. There's another app on the phone. If we like, we can come out and do a CPR class, but I do recommend it other than a Sunday. Now this app, you can download it. It's free. You'd be surprised how quickly you can react. It has a 911 number on there, so actually somebody on the end of 911 will actually coach you on how to do CPR, believe it or not. My friend just, it was at church a couple months ago, 4 rows above him. See, I can tap to call 911 right now. He was 4 rows back. Gentleman passed out, wasn't breathing. You know what happened? People just stood there. They didn't know what to do. So he pushed his way through the front, saved his life. Next 2 weeks later, they're having dinner together. So it's only minutes. So if you'd like, we can do a CPR training during the week, because that's generally when my CPR people will come out. You could also get CPR classes at the Camarillo office. They talked about anxiety, breathing today, briefly. When I was in Florida, I cannot tell you how many individuals had anxiety attacks. It was trying to calm them down. They were on oxygen, and they couldn't breathe. Maybe it was turned at the wrong level, I don't know. But just to get them to start breathing again and understanding the breathing techniques for those type of events is quite helpful. So we have programs for children. We call it Prepare with Pedro. I noticed some kids going in the back. It usually takes about 30-35 minutes. It's a coloring book, essentially. Talks about home fires. We have presenters that come in and do that. They're focused on children. Personally, myself, I like to present to seniors. So I leave the younger 50-year-old volunteers to the young kids, generally. Me, it's 71. I rather do my age. So we have several apps. You can download them. And emergency contact cards. You can get most of the apps on. I gave you CPR, disaster only, and pet aid. There's actually an app for pet aid. Does anybody know how to do CPR on their dog? Their cat? So there is an instruction guide. Bleeding. So it's called Pet First Aid. Poison. So there's your checklist. You can take a certification CPR class in Camarillo. They offer it. They're there quite often. The only donation I ask today is blood. So roll up your sleeves. We have other groups that handle donations. So there was a couple of large corporations here in Ventura County that donated one donated over $300,000. I have no idea who they were. But again, that's community supporting the community. It's fantastic to see the outpouring at times. And those are the apps. You can see a picture of it there. So, thank you.
Thank you.
That wasn't too bad. I'm very nervous right now, so I apologize. So, is there any questions? Yes, sir.
Yeah, I'm just sort of wondering what your thought is about FEMA, under the current administration, all the discussions that have been going on.
Oh, you had to get political on me.
Are we going to get to see FEMA when we have a big earthquake?
Well, that's a good question. It is concerning. FEMA, actually, when I was in North Carolina, they were working right next to us in the shelter. They were already giving people away, and they've only been there a week. So with this new administration, who knows what's going to happen? Next thing you know, he's going to want to touch our Social Security, or at least Elon does. So, yes, sir.
Do we need more shelters in Ventura?
We have, that's a good question. Right now we have shelters. We use the parish church in Camarillo. They were open for over, I think about a week. We work very closely with the county of Ventura. But the county of Ventura is going to start allocating those services to the cities. So I understand the city of Ventura has been told to have their own, they need to have their own disaster plan. So those are changes that are coming about. Generally, the county sets it up, and then the city comes in and helps too. But I think I've been told they're going to change it. But to your question, we do have one up in Ojai. We have one in we use Ventura College. That's probably where we're setting up right now. Oxnard College. The Camarillo is the churches, 2 churches, I believe. And in Simi Valley, I live in the east side of, and I don't understand sometimes our preparedness. So one day I'll figure out my own community in Simi Valley. Does that answer your question, Todd? Yeah. Now the problem with Ojai is we only have 6 volunteers up there. So if that freeway, highway gets shut, 33 and the 150. So what will happen is a community like Ventura will come together and come into the shelter. We call them event-based volunteers, which if we had a big, we had a hurricane hit, not hurricane, I'm sorry, tornado, one more time, earthquake hit, we would ask for volunteers on a incident base. But a lot of people all of a sudden become full-time volunteers. For me, I work about 30 hours a week, believe it or not, between disasters and preparedness. But most of the time, most of the volunteers work 5 hours a month, 10 hours. We work when we want to. So some days I feel like taking a day off, I just take a day off. But my wife still works, so I continue to volunteer. I'm sorry, I can ramble forever. Anybody else have questions? Yes?
I would put on this list external hard drive.
Absolutely. That's a good point. If you don't have power, how long is your battery going to last?
No, the hard drive that has all those pictures that your wife.
Oh, the hard drive. No, I was talking about a battery backup for your phone.
That too.
Is that on there?
I don't think so.
Yeah, everybody, you can get a solar one. Do you know how much a solar battery costs, charger? Anybody know? Yeah, you can get a solar battery backup. I hate to say Amazon, but Amazon, you can get them in 2 days.
Cell phones and chargers, but
Yeah.
it doesn't talk about solar. How much?
Oh, I don't know how much they run. I would imagine they run that much. But, you know, what you do is you turn them over to the solar, and they'll charge your battery. So that's a fantastic, and in fact, I did have one, but I left it in the sun too long. Yes, ma'am.
They have those lamps that are like plastic inflatable, and then you can plug in a phone. As long as I've used one, I have one.
Oh, really?
If you got some good sunlight, you can charge small things like your phone.
Oh, I didn't know that.
They're less than $100.
Can't hear these
Looks
questions
like
for the
a square
recording.
inflatable light.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Lucy is the brand? Yeah, and I've used it and it worked. So,
And for you folks who have been with power outage, invest in a good generator.
Or keep it in your garage.
We have a question.
Oh, yes.
Question.
Yes, ma'am.
Does Ventura have an actual Red Cross office?
Yes, Camarillo.
Not in the city of Ventura, though.
No.
Camo is the
Yeah.
closest.
Yeah.
And where can you buy a kit, a preparedness kit
Yes, you can.
from the Red Cross?
You can buy
or-
it from the Red Cross. Yes, you
Oh.
can. And you can buy it from the Amazon.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
That's a good question. Anybody else? Well, I know you're guys have been here for a while. So if there's no more questions, I'll head off to the shelter.
And, well, thank you so much.
You're welcome. And if you want to give those handouts, have you handed them out already?
Some of them.
We handed that one out.
I do have a few more. Anybody here a caregiver?
used to be.
Used to be.
Kent got one. You said something about a communications handout?
I'm sorry,
I
what?
thought you said something about a communication handout while you were speaking,
Communication handout.
so maybe I misheard.
Oh, I'm a communication person.
I know.
so.
Thank you.
Thank you. Folks, have a nice Sunday.
So much.
Thank you.
Contact list.
Thank you.
That's a good idea. I have addresses, but not phone numbers. Basically, I do my Christmas labels.
Since I can't find my cell phone half the time, without a disaster.
Amazing how. Years that have gone by.
I'm gonna listen to the recording of it.
And now then, it's like,
We at 5 o'clock,
Yeah, okay, talk to them.
I don't,
right, at 5 o'clock.
I know Ruth's number. And that's it. And my son's number, I don't.
Nikki, there were a couple of other handouts.
Kathy, was it you? Was it one of
Yes,
those?
that's the one I want.
Do you have one?
That one's in Spanish.
Oh,
Would help somebody else.
yeah,
but
yeah,
not
wait,
me.
wait, hold on, hold on, hold on. How are you thinking?